1.
James J. Hill, one man's efforts to enterprise with the Orient. In the early 1900s, railroad tycoon James J. Hill spoke out for Oriental trade in an attempt to boost America's plummeting economy. After Hill's efforts, it became clear that trade with the Orient is what the U.S. needed, leading to a greater expansion of trade with China. James J. Hill was born September 16, 1838 in Ontario, Canada, to two Irish immigrants. When Hill was 14, his dad, who was employed as a farmer, died. At the time, Hill's mom owned an inn, so he took the job of a grocer's assistant in order to earn more money for his family. He had to quit school that year. However, he continued to study with Reverend William Wetherland, who taught him things such as algebra, geometry, and grammar. This knowledge would later prove useful to him in his career as a businessman. When Hill was growing up, a popular term, made in Japan, came to use. This indicated that the item displayed was made in Japan, it was extremely cheap to get a hold of, and it was extensively profitable to sell. Growing up while Oriental trade was building and growing increased Hill's interest in worldwide trade.
When Hill was 18 years old, he moved to Minnesota. He started by working with steamboats, but decided that he was far more interested in the railroad. He worked as a clerk for the steamships for 10 years, and during this time met J.P. Morgan and Edward H. Harriman. Each man both spent money in this field. All contributed $5,000, and together made a company that moved freight from St. Paul steamships to railroads and other places. James J. Hill also met a woman named Mary Teresa Mohegan. This was a waitress that he liked. The two dated for a few years and were married in 1867. Together, they had 10 children. Hill realized that why he was so profitable was because of the settlers living alongside his rails. He also realized that if he were to increase Oriental trade, that his profit would increase, as the Orient would provide wheat, livestock, and lumber.
Along with his two business partners, J.P. Morgan of the Northern Pacific Railway Company and Edward H. Harriman of the Union Pacific Railway Company, Hill was student control of railroads such as the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy as of 1901. Thanks to the extensive ground these railways covered, Hill had easy access to commodities being grown in the South, such as cotton. He also had access to natural and manufactured goods being produced in the North and Midwest. Hill soon became president of this combined company, which they named the Northern Securities Company. Although this merger proved to be extremely profitable, it was soon noticed by the United States government and the President of the United States, who at the time was Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt's first administration wished to end all business monopolies, so the Sherman Antitrust Act was made. A business monopoly is when a certain company owns almost all of an industry. The Sherman Antitrust Act was made to stop monopolies. The act was passed after a number of large corporations merged in the 1880s. One day, Harriman and Hill had a competition to own the most stock in the Great Pacific Railway Company, which had a desirable line into Chicago. During this battle, the stock prices rose to $1,000 a share. To get more money, they sold smaller stocks for lower prices. This slowly grew into a massive and irresponsible competition that disrupted the whole stock market. In the end, neither man was able to get control of the Great Pacific.
Whether it was Hill or Harriman who owned the stock was of no moment. The corner burst with a loud but unconcerned report as shares jumped from 1,000 to 2,000 a share. In the first 15 minutes, stocks rose by 5 points from 155 to 180 and immediately back to 155. The Minneapolis Tribune.
Hill and Harriman's actions were so irresponsible that they disrupted the whole entire stock market. This is what caught the president's attention, and after close investigation, he determined that Hill's company, the Northern Securities Company, was a monopoly.
On March 14, 1904, James J. Hill was told to dissolve his business. President Theodore Roosevelt told his attorney to bring suit against Hill's company. The case went to court in the case of the United States of America versus the Northern Pacific Railway Company. The case was considered a monopoly, and Hill was told to dissolve his business. After he gave what was left of his company to his oldest son, he decided to embark on other businesses, including mining iron and coal, shipping on water, agriculture and milling, and financing and banking. During this time, Hill also decided that he would travel the country speaking out for Oriental trade. Hill and his agents traveled to an Oriental country to see if they could make steamboats to make a path to Puget Sound, Washington. Hill decided that making his own boats was near impossible, so he asked the Orient if he could borrow theirs. Hill did many things to make this country's people like him. For example, he sold cotton to them for a money-back guarantee, and sold steel to them for a far lower price than other competitors. Though these exports were crucial, the most important was flour. Hill sold flour to the Orient for a very low price so that they could bake bread and sell it to the U.S., saying,
"Do this and your country's economy will flourish. Send all the wheat export of the entire Pacific coast to Asia to be eaten by people who have before lived almost wholly on rice."
This benefited American farmers because now their wheat was being shipped to a place with far less competition. Hill taught Asian merchants ways to bake bread to pique their interest. From 1897 to 1901, flour exports to the Orient increased from 1.2 million barrels to 2 million barrels. As Hill was clearly involved in these efforts, he took part in several speeches and debates about the matter. He gave a little-known speech on August 7, 1889, in which he spoke about the expansion of Asian and American trade. He tried very hard to convince people to support the idea, as he believed people controlling commerce were the most powerful.
If you review commercial history, you will discover that whoever gets hold of Oriental trade will control global wealth.
After his retirement in 1912, Hill stayed active in his businesses up until his death in 1916. At the time, he owned $63 million, as well as $200 million in related assets. This accumulated wealth made him one of America's richest and most powerful figures of the time. Hill criticized the government for not allowing railroads to create competitive export rates and continued to speak out about them up until his death. In his later years, Hill was very generous and donated to victims of horrible tragedies, including the Hinckley Fire, Titanic, and earthquake in San Francisco. Up until his death, Hill spent his time adding to the Hill Reference Library in St. Paul, while also gathering a personal art collection in his home. After Hill's contribution to the Oriental trade, he was certain that his impact would be huge and would happen right away. What he got in return was little impact. In fact, his efforts had hardly done anything at all during his lifetime.
James J. Hill died at 9:30 yesterday afternoon. At his home, the funeral will be held at his home in 240 Summit Avenue tomorrow afternoon. At 2 o'clock tomorrow, railways and steamships throughout the transportation system of the Great Northern will be stopped in remembrance of Mr. Hill. Minneapolis Tribune.
It wasn't until many years after Hill's death that Oriental trade was noticed by America and businessmen of the country. It wasn't until a lot of time after he died that people warmed up to the idea of trading with Oriental countries and depending on them for most of their goods. Nowadays, China and Japan alone provide over 90% of our goods here in America.
James J. Hill will always be remembered as one of the greatest shapers of the Northwest.
However, even after he died, Oriental trade was still building and growing and became what it is now.
Although he was born in a poor family, Hill rose up to become a great man who will never be forgotten by his whole country.
James J. Hill has left behind a legacy that has helped to create America as we know it.
Hill also helped to increase Oriental trade, a very important turning point in our country's economy.
Thanks to Hill and his hard work and great actions, our economy has become stronger.
Some people look at this as a bad thing, but it's important to remember that Mr. Hill and those working for Oriental trade likely saved America's economy.
James J. Hill gave our economy a push toward success, and in the end, he did achieve his goal.
In conclusion, James J. Hill was one of the most important Americans working for Oriental trade, and due to his initial efforts, our economy has flourished.